If you spent time in the darker corners of the early internet, you likely stumbled across a very specific audio file. The recording is short and jagged. An elderly woman reports a prowler outside. There is a heavy thud, followed by gasping and screams before the line cuts to static. For decades, the internet consensus remained fixed. True crime forums and message boards treated the clip as an established snuff recording, the literal sound of a woman's final moments. Skeptics argued the terror was too visceral to be authentic, suggesting the audio was a morbid hoax staged by voice actors to haunt early web users. But the audio didn't come from a horror studio. Back in the 1990s, this recording was widely circulated in emergency dispatch training exercises to illustrate a catastrophic procedural failure. Seconds into the call, the woman begins giving her address. Instead of letting her finish, the operator interrupts to ask about the problem, losing the location data forever. Because the dispatcher stopped her, help was never dispatched to a specific location. The interruption turned a real human crisis into a digital ghost story, as there was no record of where to find the body. Eventually, researchers stopped treating the audio as a campfire story and began listening to it as a forensic crime scene, searching for the few facts buried under the static. The first piece of evidence appears in the opening seconds. Before the intruder enters, the caller identifies herself simply as Ruth. As she describes the prowler's movements, she mentions a specific layout, an apartment in the back. Then she provides the most vital fragment. Just before the operator cuts her off, she manages to say the numbers 3877. An older woman named Ruth, a house with a rear apartment, a street number starting with 3877. Investigators set out to see if these three variables pointed to a real person. True crime sleuths on Reddit began chasing a rumored last name, Price. They started cross-referencing that name with the fragments from the audio. This process required filtering through decades of census data, looking for an elderly Ruth Price who lived at an address matching that partial 4-digit number. The search yielded a single geographic match: 3877 North 35th Street in San Diego, California. City directories confirmed that a Ruth M. Price lived at that address in the late 70s. Property records showed the house was a single-family home with a second unit in the rear, the apartment in the back. Investigators then turned to the San Diego newspaper archives, searching for a murder report that matched Ruth's name and location. They found absolutely nothing. The lack of an obituary didn't mean the audio was fake. It meant the internet had spent 20 years asking the wrong question about what happened after the line went dead. If Ruth Price wasn't killed that night, the researchers had to change their strategy. They pivoted from searching death records to scanning the local police blotters. They found the answer in the November 3, 1980 edition of the San Diego Evening Tribune, buried in a small column titled Assaults. The report describes the exact events of the recording. Ruth Price was calling the police to report a prowler when she was grabbed from behind and choked. But the report ends differently than the legend. Ruth dropped the phone, fought at her attacker's hands, and broke his grip. She screamed so loudly and fought so hard that the intruder panicked and fled. Ruth Price didn't just survive the night, she lived for 14 more years, eventually dying of natural causes in 1994 at the age of 80. For decades, listeners projected a tragedy into the silence at the end of the tape, assuming they were hearing a murder in progress. This recording preserves the triumphant battle cry of a woman fighting for her life and winning.